This is WKYT This Morning.
Kentucky mornings start right here on WKYT, and it is great to have you with us this morning. I'm Andrea Walker.
I'm Bill Bryant. We sure hope you had a great weekend and happy Halloween. It is Monday, October 31st, the last day of this month.
Now at 6, we're learning more about the victims killed by a drunk driver near UK's campus.
Also ahead this morning, we now know the identity of the woman involved in a lengthy standoff with Richmond police.
And the Chicago Cubs stave off elimination. More on Game 5 as the World Series gets ready to return to Cleveland.
The Cubs stay alive. And a beautiful morning out there today. It's going to be a great Halloween.
Really good Halloween. I mean, we're talking about lower 70s later on this afternoon. We're going in toward the evening hours. I don't see any problems, mid-upper 60s. So really good looking weather outside right now. We're holding on to the 50s. 54 degrees right now in Rowan County as you're taking off early this morning. More than likely, you can get out of there without having to have a coat, maybe a sweater, maybe a long sleeve shirt just in case, but it's really not a bad feel. 71. Definitely a treat later on this afternoon. The focus of the forecast, obviously, is about the trick-or-treating, and there's no sugarcoating it. It's an easy, pretty straightforward forecast and a nice one. I'm going to show you that. I do have some rain in the forecast as well. It's later on this week. I'll have that coming up in a few minutes.
And we thank you. Let's get right to the news this morning. We're learning some new details this hour about the victims in a deadly Lexington crash. Early on Saturday morning, police say the driver was drunk when she crashed into two men on the UK campus, killing them both.
So sad. The victims, a 15-year veteran of the Louisville Police Department, Detective Jason Schweitzer, and Timothy Moore, a UK employee. Moore's son says his father died doing what he did best, helping people. WKYT's Lauren Miner is live on the campus of UK with more on how Moore is being remembered. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Andrea. Well, for 14 years, Timothy Moore was an employee here on UK's campus working in utility management. According to employees at UK, they say he was a hard worker and someone others could always count on. WDRB in Louisville spoke with Moore's son, Michael, yesterday afternoon, who said his father was a family man. He went on to say that his father was a kind and generous man, always willing to help others. Saturday morning, an accused drunk driver hit Moore along with Louisville detective Jason Schweitzer while the two were standing on UK's campus. We're told Moore was giving Detective Schweitzer directions before they were both hit and killed.
I was angry. I was asking myself why. A careless decision took the life of two great people that didn't deserve it one bit.
Counts of manslaughter and DUI. Whitlow has not yet been booked in the Fayette County Detention Center. UK is providing grief counselors here on campus today who worked with Moore. Reporting live in Lexington, Lauren Miner, WKYT.
Lauren, thank you very much. Funeral arrangements have been announced for the Louisville police detective killed in that crash. Detective Schweitzer was vice president of the River City FOP Lodge 614. We've learned his wife is expecting their second child. His visitation with an FOP service will be tomorrow at the Ratterman Funeral Home in Louisville. His funeral will be Wednesday at St. Michael's Catholic Church.
And just an awful set of circumstances, certainly. Our time this morning is 6:03 on WKYT, and we have some new details about a Madison County woman accused in a lengthy standoff. Sherry Rogers is facing a number of charges this morning. She was arrested last night, more than 8 hours after that standoff started on Valley Street in Richmond. That's in the Big Hill area. WKYT's Mike Byer is live with new information. He's at Richmond Police Headquarters. Mike?
Good morning, Bill. As a result of that long standoff with Richmond Police, Rogers faces a long list of charges, including wanton endangerment and terroristic threatening. Now, this after police were called to a home on Valley Street here in Richmond yesterday afternoon for a report of shots fired. Police say Rogers and her boyfriend were yelling inside the house. At one point, officers heard Rogers say he was going to die. Rogers then turned her attention towards police, who say at one point she said she was going to kill them if they didn't leave. This is when the standoff began. Because of the dangerous situation, state police sent a $30,000 robot into the home. Police say Rogers fired several shots, one of them hitting and disabling the robot. Officers say one of the rounds grazed the door and ended up going in their direction as well. As a result of the shots fired, Rogers' boyfriend ran from the home and was able to make it to safety. Police eventually released tear gas into the home, causing Rogers to run outside, where she would ultimately surrender, putting an end to the standoff that lasted nearly 8 hours. Now, Rogers remains behind bars this morning. A court case is pending. Live in Richmond, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Mike, thank you. We're tracking the latest on a deadly shooting investigation in Powell County this morning. The Powell County coroner says a man was shot in his car along Mountain Springs Road. A few hours later, he was pronounced dead. The victim has been identified as David Rogers. The coroner says the bullet went through Rogers' windshield. Rogers was the only one in the car. State police have not released any details on a possible suspect in the case yet.
New on WKYT this morning, Hazard police officers are looking for 2 suspects involved in an armed robbery. Police say it happened last night at a Dollar General store. Police have released this surveillance picture of the 2 men. We're told both of the suspects had handguns and demanded money from the cashier inside the store. Police say the 2 men were driving a white truck or SUV.
Lexington police investigating after a man walked into a store with a gunshot wound. That store is along Georgetown Street. Police tell us the man was taken to UK hospital and had non-life-threatening injuries. They do not know who or where the man was shot. Police say the man is not cooperating with them.
Kentucky State Police are still looking for a missing Ohio man who disappeared in Laurel County on his way to Florida. Troopers say 74-year-old Robert Bowden was last seen turning into the London Marathon gas station on Highway 80 on Saturday morning. Troopers say Bowden was driving a 1989 Shelby Silverado pickup truck with a camper top. A Russell County man faces murder charges this morning. Rick McWhorter is charged with murder. State police say Douglas Carnes was found dead in his home along South Main Street in Jamestown. Saturday morning, they say Carnes was involved in a fight. Troopers think he was beaten and cut to death.
Also in Russell County, the coroner's office there is investigating what they think is an accidental drowning at Lake Cumberland. The coroner says 67-year-old James Stonecipher of Indiana was pronounced dead at the launching ramp in Kendall Park yesterday. Toxicology results are not back yet. The coroner and the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife are still investigating.
County officials are searching for those responsible for vandalism at a Harlan County park over the weekend. Investigators say someone stole the top off an $800 table at the park at High Splint Lake. They say a porta potty was also pushed down a hill. Officials say this isn't the first time the park has been vandalized. They say someone recently fired shots into a park shelter. Officials are now encouraging those responsible to either return the tabletop or turn themselves in. Well, there is still life in the Chicago Cubs. They won Game 5 in Chicago last night, but still trailed the Indians in the best-of-7 series, 3-2. The Cubs are trying to win their first World Series championship in 71 years. It has been a long drought for the Indians, too, going back to 1948. Game 6 is tomorrow night in Cleveland.
So it will be historic for either team.
Exactly.
We'll see how it goes with the Cubs. They're going to have to come from behind at this point and then play on the Cleveland. Will have the home advantage. So we'll see how it all goes.
It's exciting.
Well, it's Halloween, everybody, and that's exciting as well. And we have good weather to really for the little trick-or-treaters to get that out there and enjoy.
We do. Let's check in now with meteorologist Mike Harris for an early look at your forecast.
I know. I've been showing pictures all morning long off Twitter and off Facebook of your little kiddos with their trick-or-treating costumes on. And it's, you know, the past 5 years have actually been pretty chilly. There have been a couple of years here or there that we've actually been in the 60s and 70s. But both of those years, we've had at least some rain chances around. So it's just been one of those times the past 5 years that on the Halloween day, go on off toward trick-or-treating, we just had to either put a coat on, umbrella, kind of go off into these churches or these places for trunk-or-treating, just because we haven't been able to be outside that much for some of these trick-or-treating times. But let me tell you this evening looks phenomenal. It looks really, really good. Frankfurt at 55 degrees early this morning, so kids going off to the bus stop, I don't see any problems whatsoever. 71 by the afternoon, and then we head off into the evening. Trick-or-treating times anywhere from 65 to 71 degrees. It's a really nice weather. And don't forget, you can check that out on WKYT.com for all the lists of trick-or-treating times. Now, that takes you off into the evening. Let's talk about the next few days. So everybody will love this weather. Virtually everybody will love this weather. Record-breaking temperatures is possible tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow at 83 is our record. I have 80 in the forecast. Remember, we cover 70-plus counties, so that is an average. We don't just forecast for Lexington. We cover everybody around central, north, east, and also southern Kentucky. So that just goes to show you that we got to put it into an average. So average right around 80 degrees in my 7-day forecast, and late week rain in the forecast. Check out these pictures. Remember, keep sending your pictures in on my Facebook and on my Twitter. This is from Stratton Everman. This is actually my little man's best buddy, all right? This is his best friend right here, and he is super wide. This is Strode, my little man right there. He's actually one of our neighbors. Really cute picture. Another one, Gavin and Natalie from Berea. How cute is that? A little Snow White, it looks like, and also Mickey Mouse. Every kid loves Mickey Mouse. Really cute. And check out this cutie pie. This is Hannah Apgar, age 1. What a cutie patootie right there. You got to love that. All these pictures just absolutely love. And keep sending them in. 7-day forecast for 71 later on today, 80 degrees there on Tuesday. Like I said, we could break a record tomorrow. Wednesday looks good, but Thursday, here comes some showers, some thunderstorms. This will be the 3rd Thursday in a row that we've actually had some rain. Really weird how that works out.
That is weird.
That's just the way it's been the past couple of weeks.
I hadn't noticed that.
He mentioned it earlier how last week, Thursday, we had a rain chance.
Yeah.
Before that, the week before that on Thursday, we had a rain chance. It's been weird.
Kind of been the pattern.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about Halloween this year is that these kids, you can see their costumes. They don't have to be covered up. So,
yes,
you know,
that's big for the parents.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's right.
6:11 the time on WKYT this morning.
And each morning we bring you weather and traffic together.
Let's check in with Officer Don and see what's happening. He's out there at 98.1 The Bull with a check on things. Good morning, Don.
Hey, good morning. Well, we start off with no major problems on the circle so far. Just checked it between Alumni and Tates Creek, and we're okay there. Overall traffic view this morning looks okay. As I said, no major issues to deal with downtown either as we kick off our morning. And getting into the rush hour, things are pretty light. As far as drive times go, should be okay from Nicholasville, also from Paris inbound. And it looks like all of our major intersections are moving okay so far. Now back to you in the studio.
All right, noticeably busier out there, though, and it will be as we get into the next few minutes, the next hour, as folks get up and stir on your Monday. Hey, it's great to have you with us on WKYT this morning. A lot more news is on the way on this last day of October.
Still to come, it's shaping up to be an interesting week in the race for the White House. We're breaking down the news in 3 minutes.
Also ahead this morning, don't eat all of that candy at once. Pretty good advice, huh? Americans, it turns out, are spending billions of dollars on a sugar rush. We'll talk about the implications of that coming up on WKYT.
Hey, welcome back to WKYT this morning. The time now is 6:15 on your Monday, and happy Halloween, everybody.
You got it. That's right. Make it a good one, huh?
Well, with just 8 days left until the election, the Senate Minority Leader says that FBI Director James Comey may have broken the law regarding Hillary Clinton's private emails.
A lot of dramatic developments here. Minority Leader Harry Reid sent a letter to Comey accusing him of a double standard. On Friday, Comey announced that investigators had newly discovered emails that may be relevant to the inquiry into Clinton's private email server. The FBI has obtained a warrant to begin reviewing emails discovered during an unrelated sexting investigation of Anthony Weiner. The former New York congressman is also the estranged husband of longtime Clinton aide Abba Huma-Dean. In Kentucky this morning, U.S. Senate candidates Rand Paul and Lexington Mayor Jim Gray are preparing for their first and only debate, and it will be tonight. The two will square off this evening on KET. That is set for 8 o'clock at KET's studios on Cooper Drive, so that will be interesting. All right, now to a breaking news alert this morning. Crews are right now at the scene of a large fire in Jessamine County. That fire started just before 6 o'clock this morning. I think we have a map to indicate where this is. Woodview Drive. That is in Nicholasville, not far from the bypass and Keene Road. We do have a crew on the way to the scene. We understand this is in a residential area.
Yes, they don't have any information right now, but keep it here on WKYT. We will have updates throughout the morning and also on WKYT.com. In Oklahoma, police say they've shot and killed a man accused of killing 2 relatives and shooting and wounding 2 police officers. Police had been looking for Michael Dale Vance Jr. for a week now. They say Vance had a hit list of people linked to a previous sexual assault case against him, and some of his family members were in protective custody. People in central Italy are waking up to more devastation following yet another earthquake. The powerful 6.6 magnitude quake rocked the country Sunday morning, injuring more than a dozen people. It follows tremors last week and a massive quake that killed nearly 300 people in August. And a new study in Kentucky says U.S. Geological Survey maps overstate the earthquake hazard for the central United States. The study comes from the Kentucky Geological Survey at the University of Kentucky. The group says the new Madrid seismic zone earthquake hazard should be revised on national seismic hazard maps.
Our time this morning is 6:18 on WKYT, and Tesla CEO Elon Musk showed off his latest creation, solar roof tiles that look like glass shingles instead of clunky solar panels. Musk made the announcement at Universal Studios Hollywood on the old set of ABC's Desperate Housewives. 4 of the Wisteria Lane houses were made over with Tesla's first ever solar product. Americans are expected to spend more on Halloween candy this year than they have in the last 4 years. A new report from IHS Global Insights is predicting Americans will spend nearly $4 billion, or about $30 per household. The report is suggesting if you want to get a good deal on the sweets, hold out until tomorrow, the day after Halloween. But that wouldn't work for trick-or-treaters, right? Okay. And this Halloween, Americans could have a sugar rush. Spending on candy expected to hit $4 billion, again about $30 per household. And that is, by the way, more than over the last 4 years. The National Confectioners Association says that 72% of parents admit to sharing their children's candy with or without their knowledge. In other words, stealing it.
Hey,
grabbing a handful.
That's all right. They have to take them out. You know, they deserve a little reward for being out with the kiddos all night long. Am I right? Am I right?
That's the
I'm
price.
defending you parents out there. Well, trick-or-treating in Lexington is from 6 to 8 tonight. We do have a list of trick-or-treat times throughout Central Kentucky right now for you on WKYT.com. WKYT this morning, we are just getting started, and it is so good to have you with us. Volunteers at a Missouri hospital are giving some super babies some super costumes. The heartwarming story is coming up right after the break.
We're looking pretty good there for trick-or-treating later on this evening. Then we're looking later off into the work week for a cold front to be moving on through. How will that affect our temperatures? And also, will it bring us some rain? I'll have that coming up next.
Welcome back into WKYT this morning. Happy Halloween. It is 6:23 on WKYT.
The victims of a deadly Lexington crash are being remembered this morning.
That's what's trending at this hour here at WKYT News. Louisville Police Detective Jason Schweitzer and Timothy Moore, a longtime UK employee, died Saturday. Police say the driver was drunk when she crashed into the men on the UK campus. Funeral arrangements have been announced for Schweitzer. His funeral will be Wednesday. Moore's arrangements have not been scheduled at this point.
Sherry Rogers faces charges after being involved in a standoff with Richmond police. Investigators say it started with a shots fired call on Valley Street. Once they arrived, they say Rogers began shooting. After nearly 8 hours, police say Rogers finally gave up peacefully.
Awesome weather for those trick-or-treaters out there this evening. Here's meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, and if they have to wear their costumes early this morning, I still don't see any problems this morning. Actually, be cooler this morning than it will later on this evening. 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., no problems, no issues whatsoever. Maybe a little patchy fog down in some of the valley areas. But other than that, we're good to go. Let's talk about your trick-or-treating forecast. So we go through your day. Teachers, keep in mind you can get the kids outside playing in their costumes out on the playground. It should be pretty nice weather throughout the morning and early afternoon. By afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m., our afternoon high is at 71 degrees. Very, very nice weather. Suzanne Butler sent this one in. Reese and Colin, you see that Batgirl and Batman just hanging out at what looks like Dad, or maybe just really just Batman. You never know. But if Dad, you dressed up like that, man, you actually look pretty sharp there. Here's another cutie pie right here. My neighbors are just sending in the pictures, man. This is Carly right here. Isn't she cute? This is one of Max's, my little man's friend as well. I showed another one earlier, but he calls her Cardi. You see how her mom put that in, a.k.a. Cardi, all right? Cute picture right here of Superman. He's ready to go right there. And that's from Jenna Collins. Guys, we appreciate that very much. Continue to send them in. Like I said, we do this every year. And we'll talk more about your weekend forecast closer to it, because that's when some rain moves on in. That's coming up in a few minutes.
All right. Yeah, we're going to make Halloween last all day long with all those good-looking costumes
I know,
that are showing
they're
up out
so
there.
cute,
They
aren't
really
they?
are. All right, 6:25 on WKYT this morning. And if this next story doesn't melt your heart, then probably nothing will.
That's right. Volunteers for the March of Dimes gifted newborns at Kansas City's hospital's neonatal intensive care unit with teeny tiny superhero costumes meant to celebrate their strength, and the internet is just losing their mind over it. Volunteer photographers captured the little ones dressed as Wonder Woman, Captain America, and Superman, as well as butterflies, ladybugs, and even a baseball player. Good timing for that, huh?
Yeah.
The gift is for the families whose children are in the unit over the Halloween holiday.
All right.
So a good way to give them a little extra strength.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great, you know?
Yeah, well, kids across the country will be sporting their best Halloween costumes, but we can already wrap up costume contest because this YouTuber's son has got to win it, hands down, no question.
We'll just check out.
Look at him.
Guy, it's a Transformers costume that actually transforms.
Look at that.
The costume is made from foam. It took about 6 hours to put it all together, resulting in one rad Halloween costume that is more than meets the eye.
That is too cool. Now, if he could figure out how to mass produce that, I think that would go really well.
Give him an idea there.
Very
right?
cool.
Keep it here on WKYT this morning. All of our top stories are on the way.
When we come back, the Kentucky Wildcats dominated in their exhibition opener. Highlights of what could be a fun year coming up at 6:30.
A reminder that tomorrow night's Mega Millions jackpot is $40 million, and Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot has climbed to $198 million. It's so good to have you with us here on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Kentucky mornings start right here on WKYT, and good morning to you. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Andrea Walker. Happy Halloween. We have disappeared.
We have.
It is Monday, October 31st.
We have a lot going on early this morning. We are hearing from family members of one of the victims after a deadly weekend crash in Lexington. That story ahead.
We're also tracking the latest on 2 early morning fires, one in Edsall County and one happening right now in Nicholasville. The latest on both just ahead.
Setting up for live coverage there in Nicholasville. Also, we have some safety tips before your little ghouls and goblins hit the street for trick-or-treating. It's going to be an exciting evening tonight.
And as we mentioned earlier, it's no tricks, just treats in the forecast. Am I right?
Everybody. I mean, this is really nice weather. Bill mentioned it earlier how this year you won't have to worry about covering up those costumes that you spent 30 to 60 bucks on or maybe hours. Yeah, absolutely. So this is really nice weather. I mean, starting off this morning, holding on to the 50s, 55 degrees right now in Lexington. Frankfort coming in the mid-50s, and that pretty much goes for everybody except for people down in far south and southeastern Kentucky. We're actually close to 60 degrees, so really nice start this morning. 71 by the afternoon. That's at 4 to 5 p.m. That's your afternoon high temperature. Temperatures from anywhere from 6 to 8 p.m. when most of us are out trick-or-treating. That's going to be right there, 65 to 71 degrees. Really good weather. No rain chance in the forecast, so there's some good news. Head tomorrow, and we're talking 80s back in the forecast, but it doesn't last too long because here comes a front toward mid and late week. We'll get into that forecast coming up in a few minutes.
And let's get right to the news this morning.
We're learning new details this morning about the victims in a deadly Lexington crash early Saturday morning. Police say the driver was drunk when she crashed into 2 men on the UK campus, killing both of them.
One asking directions from the other. Apparently the victims, a 15-year veteran of the Louisville Police Department, Detective Jason Schweitzer, and Timothy Moore, a longtime UK employee. Moore's son says his father died doing what he did best, and that is helping people. WKYT's Lauren Miner is live on the UK campus this morning with more on how Moore is being remembered. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Bill. Timothy Moore was an employee here at UK for 14 years working in utility management. UK employees said he was a hard worker and someone you could always count on. WDRB in Louisville spoke with Michael, his son, yesterday afternoon, who said his father was a family man. He went on to say that his father was a kind and generous person, always willing to help people. Saturday morning, an accused drunk driver hit Moore along with Louisville detective Jason Schweitzer while the two were standing on UK's campus. We're told Moore was giving directions to Detective Schweitzer before they were both hit and killed.
There's consequences to every decision that you make, and she made a choice, and that choice comes with consequences. You have choices, and you should choose not to drink and drive.
26-year-old Suzanne Whitlow was the driver of the car. She is charged with 2 counts of manslaughter and DUI. Whitlow has not yet been booked into the Fayette County Detention Center. UK is providing grief counselors here today on campus for employees that worked with Moore. Reporting live in Lexington, Lauren Miner, WKYT.
Lauren, thank you very much. And funeral arrangements have also been announced now for the Louisville police detective killed in Saturday's horrible crash. Detective Schweitzer was the vice president of the River City FOP Lodge 614. Apparently he'd been involved with them since he was a teenager. We've learned that his wife is expecting their second child. His visitation will be with an FOP service, and it will be tomorrow at the Ratterman Funeral Home in Louisville. His funeral will be Wednesday at St. Michael's Catholic Church in Louisville. All right, now to a developing story here in central Kentucky, ongoing right now. Crews are at the scene of a large fire in Jessamine County.
That fire started just before 6 o'clock this morning on Woodview Drive. That's in Nicholasville, not far from the bypass and Keene Road. We do have a crew on the scene right now, and they don't have much information, but here's what we do know. They're getting this live picture. As you can see, the scene underway right now. We understand several people were inside at the time, and we don't know if there were any injuries, but be sure to keep it here on WKYT this morning for updates.
Obvious some structural damage to that home. Looks like at least in the attic area, and the smoke coming from behind. A major response there in Nicholasville this morning. So everybody be cautious if you're in that area, and let the first responders do their work.
New on WKYT this morning, a volunteer firefighter was in the right place at the right time overnight and managed to save a woman's home from catching fire. Investigators were called to Raintree Court in Irvin around 3:30 this morning for a house fire. A volunteer firefighter who lives nearby heard the call go out and ran to help. He says he was able to use a garden hose to keep the fire from spreading. We have new details about a Madison County woman accused in a lengthy standoff. Sherry Rogers faces a number of charges this morning. She was arrested last night, more than 8 hours after that standoff started on Valley Street in Richmond. WKYT's Mike Byer is live in Richmond this morning with new information. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Andrea. Rogers is behind bars this morning after a long standoff with Richmond police. She faces several charges, including wanton endangerment and terroristic threatening. This after police were called to a home on Valley Street here in Richmond yesterday afternoon for a report of shots fired. Police say Rogers and her boyfriend were yelling inside the house. At one point, officers heard Rogers say he was going to die. Rogers then turned her attention towards police, who say at one point that she said she was going to kill them if they didn't leave. This is when the standoff began. Because of the dangerous situation, state police sent a $30,000 robot into the home. Police say Rogers then fired several shots, one of them hitting and disabling the robot. Officers say one of the rounds grazed the door and ended up going in their direction. As a result of the shots fired, Rogers' boyfriend ran from the home and was able to make it to safety. Police eventually released tear gas into the home, causing Rogers to run outside, where she would ultimately surrender.
Hey, Tyler, turn around.
All in all, the standoff lasted around 8 hours, fortunately ending without anyone hurt. Live in Richmond, Mike Byer, WKYT.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. We are continuing to track the latest on a deadly shooting in Powell County.
The Powell County coroner says David Rogers died after being shot in his car along Mountain Springs Road. The coroner says the bullet went through Rogers' windshield. Investigators say Rogers was the only one in the car.
EKU police have arrested 4 people in connection to a burglary on campus over the weekend. Police say early yesterday morning, someone tried to break into the Grand Campus apartments on Barnes Mill Road with a gun. They say several people ran off and were later caught for questioning. Now 4 people face charges. Zachary Beaton and Darius Bryant are both charged with burglary. Shaheem Lee is charged with burglary and criminal mischief. And Deshaun Moncrief is charged with wanton endangerment, burglary, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and receiving stolen property. Police say none of the 4 suspects are students at EKU.
Well, a big weekend for UK sports. The football team, of course, came away with that big win against Missouri, looking good.
They did, and the Cats hit the court at Rupp Arena to get basketball season underway. WKYT's Lee K. Howard has highlights from UK's first exhibition game of the season against Clarion.
It is hard to believe the basketball season is almost here. Still about 2 weeks before the regular season tips off. But last night, Kentucky's first exhibition game against Clarion. And UK had the offense going early. Malik Monk creates some space and knocks down the jumper. He didn't start the game, but he finished with a team-high 15 points. Isaiah Briscoe then penetrating and leaving it up for the freshman Sasha Kalea Jones. Wildcats led by 26 at halftime. We go to the second half. Cats running the floor. How about the rare senior-to-senior lob? Dominique Hawkins to Derek Willis. Willis had 13 points. more fast break offense for the Wildcats. The Aaron Fox to Bam Adebayo. Kentucky had 38 points off of turnovers. Bam finished with the double-double, 13 points, 14 rebounds, and then later Isaiah Briscoe left open on the near side, knocks down the three. Briscoe had 11 points and 11 assists. 6 Cats scoring double figures as Kentucky gets a big win, 108-51. One more exhibition game left on their schedule. That's next Sunday against Asbury, and then it's on to the regular season for the Wildcats. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much. The Cats looking good.
They look so good already.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't
do.
stand
Yeah.
it. All right, well, another thing to be excited about, it's Halloween, everybody, and police want you and your family to enjoy more treats than tricks on this holiday.
Be very careful and observant out there. Police are warning Kentuckians to take some extra precautions. They suggest that parents double check the candy that kids collect and be aware of their kids' allergies as well. Many cities hold community trunk or treats and other events, and police say those are the safest options for making the candy rounds. But if parents do choose to trick-or-treat in neighborhoods, officials recommend that children wear light colors or reflectors on their costumes.
We have a lot of issues, people crossing the roads, stuff like that. We want to remind people that when crossing the road, be very careful because there are other vehicles out.
For a full list of Halloween festivities going on in the region, head on over to WKYT.com. There you'll find a full list posted on our website.
All right, so there you go. Have a good one.
All right, and tonight, little ghouls and goblins can trick-or-treat at the Fayette Mall. Retailers throughout the mall will offer treats between 6 and 8 o'clock tonight. All kids ages 12 and under must be in costume and must have an adult with them. Adults are asked not to wear masks. There will also be a Malloween photo booth near the Guest Services Center. So lots of ways to have fun tonight.
And just the most important thing, again, is have a safe time, take some pictures.
Yes.
And, you know, we enjoy showing those off
Yeah,
as well.
share them with
been
us
this morning, so we'll try to do that tomorrow as well, and have lots of fun. 6:41 our time on WKYT this morning.
Let's check to see how traffic is moving out on the roadways this morning with live drive traffic. Here's a look at the region right now. As you can see, very clean and green on your Monday. Haven't heard any reports of major accidents this morning.
Major roads are looking good there. I-75, I-64, the Bluegrass Parkway. Here's the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Government look at Nicholasville and Pasadena, where the crowd is on the move this morning. Things are starting to pick up out there. Reminder again that we do have that fire response that is going on over in the Keene Road area in Nicholasville. So if you're in that area this morning, you want to certainly give the first responders room to operate over there. 6:42 on WKYT this morning, and we're just getting started with the latest on your Monday, the last day of October. Can you believe it?
I can't. Still ahead. One little boy from Florida got a surprise sweeter than any piece of Halloween candy. That story is coming up right after Micah's forecast.
We're looking good the next few days. Really nothing going on as we head off toward the evening hours, except for those kiddos heading out and about doing some trick-or-treating. But let me tell you this front up toward the upper northwest is heading our direction. When does it arrive and what will come with it? I'll have that coming up next.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
We're there in the mid-50s early this morning. Kids going off to the bus stop, not really feeling all that bad, so I don't see any problems whatsoever. No rain out there either, so there's some good news for us. Here on this Halloween morning, let me give you a few treats that you can take with you as you head out and about during your day. The past 5 Halloweens, okay, the past 5 years, high temperature here in Lexington has been 70 degrees. We'll actually be above that later on today, so in the past 5 years, there have been about 3 that were very chilly, sitting there in the 40s and 50s for highs, and so you had to cover up those costumes, and you spend all that time and money doing that, and you just don't want to do that. Today you won't have to do that. Kids will have a blast going out later on this evening, and don't forget about that, okay? Kids will be in full force later on this evening. I don't know if any kid is going to just sit inside with weather like this. It's going to be perfect. A lot of kids will be out there in the neighborhoods. Take it easy out there. Lows will be there, our highs will be there in the low 70s, and it'll be dry. So there's good weather for it. Trick-or-treating time, 65 to 71 degrees. And then if you're looking for those trick-or-treating times, because some start at 5, some start at 5:30, some start at 6. Here in Lexington, we start at 6 to 8. You can find that list there on WKYT.com, so get on there and check that out. Let's talk about your forecast for trick-or-treating. So the breakdown is a good one. We're at 71 later on this afternoon. Start trick-or-treat time, 68. The finish at 65 degrees. Perfect weather for it. You gotta love that. And so we have this really warm air sliding on in. Not today. Today is actually some cooler air sliding in. But once we get past your Halloween and get off into tomorrow, we may break a record tomorrow. High temperatures for some of these particular models sitting there around 80 degrees. So that warm air sliding on in. Record is at 83, and that was back in 1987. So it's been a while since we actually reached a record. Here are my friends from Lawrenceburg. How cool is this shot? This is Bailey and I from Tinkerbell. That's her dad right there, and Captain Hook. Very, very cute shot. You gotta love little Tinkerbell right there. Also, how cool is this one? This is pretty clever. I don't know if I've seen this one before. Little rock, paper, scissors going on. That's a really cool shot. That's from Robin Deaton. Appreciate that very much. And if you have a name like Waylon, why would you not dress up as a cowboy? How cute is this kid? And he's not even looking at me. He's like, Mom, I'm not even taking a picture. I got to check out this front doorstep. Make sure there's still some more candy up there, man. Really cool shot. Appreciate that very much, guys. Always love showing off these pictures this time of year. 7-day forecasts. We're there in the lower 70s later on. Like I said, trick-or-treating time, 65 to 71 degrees. And everybody's dry. On Tuesday, we could break a record. Record is 83 degrees. We'll see if we'll top out around that at least. It's going to be warm. We'll just put it that way. Wednesday looks good. Thursday, some rain chances move on in. That's with our cold front, and that cold front will knock down temperatures. You got to remember, we've been in the 80s and 70s the past several days. So 60 degrees is going to feel pretty chilly there on Friday. Friday night football is going to be a chilly one, but it actually rebounds there for the weekend pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Going back down to normal.
Yeah, right.
Really.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Remind yourself of that.
Yeah.
You know, we've had snow on Halloween before, so
Yes,
this is really good. It's good to see all those little cowboys and princesses.
So cute. So
It's
cute.
fun day ahead here on Halloween. Then there's this one little boy down in Gainesville, Florida. He went trick-or-treating over the weekend, and of course he was expecting lots of candy, but what he found was something even sweeter.
This is such a great story. Jaden Hayes is 4 years old. He dressed up this year as his hero, his dad. So instead of wearing a cape, he suited up in fatigues, just like the ones his dad has been wearing for the past 8 months in Iraq. Mom was by his side for his candy rounds. Little did he know he would also run into his dad.
It's Daddy!
So sweet. Oh, that moment. Just take that in right there. It's beautiful. With a firm grip on his candy and an even tighter one on his dad, Jaden finished out the night with plenty of treats alongside his hero. Oh,
right.
Favorite story of the day right there.
Yeah, and a hug like that,
I know.
It kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Priceless.
Those soldiers coming home stories always get to me.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
We thank them for their service. Our time this morning is 6:50. It is 10 till 7 on WKYT This Morning.
We've got more news for you. Keep it here on WKYT.
Coming up, FBI Director Comey under fire, how his disclosure of a renewed email probe is impacting the presidential race. Plus, frustrated at drivers who cut long lines to merge, why you might want to thank them. More real news coming up on CBS This Morning, next.
Welcome back into WKYT This Morning. The time now is 6:53 on your Monday. A house fire investigation and mourning the loss of 2 men killed in a crash. That's what's making headlines this morning. Bill joins us now with a look at what is trending on the web.
It's real busy in our newsroom as we are updating WKYT.com. We do have a crew at the scene of this house fire in Nicholasville this morning, and we're bringing you the latest images from that location. It is on Woodview Drive near James Mason Park in northern Nicholasville. No indications of any injuries at this point. Keep checking WKYT.com for updates as we find out more about that. You can also read more about the UK employee and the detective with the Louisville Police Department who were killed in a weekend crash. Lexington police have charged Suzanne Whitlow with 2 counts of manslaughter and DUI. We're staying on top of that story as it unfolds. It's Halloween. That, of course, means lots of people, parents and kids, will be hitting the streets tonight. And we have a list of trick-or-treat times around central, eastern, and southern Kentucky, the WKYT viewing area, for you to check out as well, right there on WKYT.com. Andrew?
Bill, thank you very much. After spending the last 115 days on board the International Space Station, 3 astronauts, including American Kate Rubins, landed in Kazakhstan Saturday. It took them 3 hours to undock from the International Space Station and land on Earth. During their 4-month mission, the astronauts used a DNA sequencer for the first time ever in space and laid out plans to install commercial space taxis. So there you go. The World Series will be moving back to Cleveland. Aroldis Chapman got 8 outs in the longest relief appearance of his career, and the Cubs held off the Indians 3-2 late last night, cutting the Tribe's lead in the series 3-2. It's the first time the Cubs have won a series game at Wrigley Field since 1945. It's been a while. They'll try to extend their season in Game 6 at Cleveland tomorrow night.
See if they can make some history, but now Cleveland's at home, so we'll see how this all goes, right?
It's going to be tough.
Time this morning is 6:55, and you know, it just wouldn't be a good Halloween without a little scare in your day.
And a Lexington family is terrifying people for a good reason this year. Nightmare on Greenway is open tonight for anyone up for a good scare. Stephen Kober says it's taken months of preparation to get his house ready for Halloween, but Kober didn't just turn his house into a haunted house for nothing. He created the house to help raise money for those struggling with PTSD.
To me, it hits home every single time. As a veteran myself, I understand those struggles, and it's very important that people, especially in Lexington, understand that this is an issue here, and it's something that we can tackle.
The haunted house is free, but donations are welcome. All donations will go towards the Warrior Life Center. The family also has set up an online fundraising page. We do have a link for that page right now, and the haunted house is hours on our website, WKYT.com.
Well, he went all out. There's no doubt about that.
He definitely did.
And is passionate about the cause, which is equally important. And we're rolling toward the 7 o'clock hour. Before we go this morning, let's check in with Micah and see what the weather does.
Yeah, we haven't heard of any problems there on the roadways per Officer Don out at 98.1 The Bull, so things are looking pretty good. Not seeing any issues. We're sitting there in the 50s. Let's talk about your Halloween forecast. Trick-or-treating later on. 71 for a high today. That's the warmest temperature we have felt in the past 5 years for Halloween. 68 to start off Halloween, 65 to finish. Good weather for you guys.
Looking
excited
good.
Skeleton there.
Yeah, he's pretty excited.
Nobody's more up to date than you. Thank you for being on WKYT.
Have a good one, everybody.